Okay, we are
Yeah.
live. We are recording. We've got everyone here. So again, good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining in on our final day of this counselors workshop. And so just like a quick recap, and sorry, this is a repeat, is we've tried to, I've always had, or not always, but I've had counselors workshops in the past. And I've paused for a little while just because I wanted to make sure I was being mindful of the resources. But then COVID came up, and I thought, oh, this is another neat opportunity to do this remotely. So for those, for your colleagues who couldn't make it, everything is being recorded. There are slides and documents on our Google site for all of you to share. And so today we're going to have, so thank you. And today we're going to have single parent program with Kathy and Brooke, followed by our disability support services, followed by our employment prep center, and we're going to close with financial aid. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Kathy and Brooke.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you, Alfie. So great to see all of you. Most of you we can see anyway. But thanks for joining us. And yeah, Brooke and I will be kind of co-presenting here, and we'll just kind of get started. So our Kapi olani Community College Student Parents Program has been around for, gosh, since about 1984, and we'll give you a little bit more about the timeline. But what we thought would be helpful to all of you was maybe if you have both, pregnant parenting students, as well as some of you might be working with the parents of your students. So we thought that hopefully this information could be, translatable to many different segments of folks you might be touching in your jobs. So if we can go to the next slide, Shell. And well, you see us on screen, but for those of who couldn't make it, then we want to make sure that you can associate our faces. And so I've been the primary counselor for, gosh, since about 1986 is when I started, and so fortunate to have Brooke join our program in about 2017. So we both have some great perspectives. She has wonderful experiences in the community and some other agencies, whereas most of my experience has been in the community college system. And okay, thanks. So who we serve is students who are pregnant, parenting, kids, minors under the age of 18. And so this includes both, of course, biological parents, could be step parents, could be sometimes we have grandparents who are raising their kids. And so anyone who's parenting minors basically is eligible to receive our services. And our mission really is pretty simple, is to support student parents at Kapi olani Community College in pursuing their educational, family, and life goals. So, that can take many different forms, as you'll see in our services. And I just have to tell you that I hear our garbage truck coming. So if it gets really loud, I'll mute for a second. Maybe Brooke can jump in. So here they are. I'm gonna mute for a sec.
My caveat is I have a screaming child, a 2-year-old, who has interrupted more than one of my presentations. So I'll throw it back to Kathy if it gets wild over here. So for our program services, in the community college setting, or even just in higher ed in general, counseling can take on many forms. You have great folks like Alfie and Sheldon who are reaching out to our schools in the community and working with our high school students and helping them with like early college. And then once you're in our setting at KCC, you have folks who are really specialized in their academic areas. And then you have our other set of counselors like me, Kathy. We have our mental health and wellness counselor, Cindy Malim, who provide more wraparound support and more personal counseling for students based on special populations or just folks we know who have extra things they come to college with that might be barriers to them accessing and continuing their education. So we know for student parents, it's a pretty specialized population with a really comprehensive set of needs. So we have folks who do the academic counseling, but Kathy and I are really trying to support student parents in that journey by making sure that all those other supports are in place in their life so that they are successful at KCC. So Kathy does a bit of career counseling. I'm more on the supportive services side, and Kathy does that as well. We have information sessions, so it's really just a call out to folks to come learn about us, see if what, if anything, they could benefit from being part of our program. We try to give them a little bit of education about what community services or resources they might be eligible for, and then we sit down and do an intake and work with them through that journey, just depending on their needs. We provide really critical for student parents childcare. This is a big gap area for all of us, but for student parents, it's really trying to get them, if they don't have family or if they don't have childcare in place, trying to help them access subsidies, as well as just different childcare agencies, and even our on-campus. We have a on-site childcare facility called the Alani Children's Center. So trying to just help them get that big piece in place so that they can focus on their education. Kathy can tell you a little bit more about Bridge to Hope, but it's on-campus employment with a partnership through the Department of Health and Human Services. And Kathy, I can throw it back to you because I hear my son trying to go out.
Okay, you got it. This is a great about, we tag team each other all the time at work, so this is perfect. So a little bit more about Bridge to Hope. It's a really wonderful partnership that started, I want to say, close to 20 years ago. And so with the Department of Human Services, we help to the recipients who are receiving first to work benefits. So they're receiving, welfare benefits, SNAP, just the whole, wraparound that DHS provides. But one of their requirements is that they have to work in order to be in school. So we place the students in different jobs on campus, and this costs the school no money. So DHS actually provides their salaries so we can, so they can work on campus, and it's a great incentive because especially now with our, budget cuts and all of that, they're able to, our different offices are able to get student assistance without, again, depleting their student help money. So that's been a really great partnership for the last almost 20 years. And I just wanted to also say, if you need to ask us questions, you can either jump in, we're really casual, or if you want to send a chat, or we can maybe get to it after our presentation as well. So please feel free. Oh wait, can you go back, Shell? I just want to make sure that everything was covered. I think, did we?
Kathy, is there a charge for the on-site childcare at Kapi olani?
Yes, there is. They've been trying to keep it a little bit below the market rates usually, and then but it has to kind of be almost like self-supporting too. So we don't really get any help from the general funds or whatever to supplement that. So we try to help our students connect with resources like Childcare Connection, Preschool Open Doors, maybe Queen Liliuokalani Trust, Alolike, different things to kind of cobble together whatever kinds of help can be worked out. So our center takes all kinds of different, grants and payments through the community agencies to support the students.
And their fees are actually it's good, comparable to other services out there. I mean, I can speak for it because my kid's actually in it right now, so.
Yeah, the beauty about Alani too is that they're also a training facility for HCC's early childhood program. So the kids there get a lot of really great more helpers and teachers in with the students. So in most preschools there's a set ratio. You have to have like so many kids per teacher. You can't exceed that. But at Alani it almost always has more folks helping out and interacting with the kids. And so that part, I think most parents really appreciate that kind of involvement that the school provides their children.
And the hours normally go up to maybe 5 or 6 o'clock?
The hours, that's the thing that's a little bit tough, is that because it's a self-supporting Center. The hours, I believe, Alfie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 7:30 to 4 o'clock.
Yep, 7:30 to 4. And then the like other like care schools and whatnot, they have like fees every minute you're late.
Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, so just moving along a little bit. Any more questions about our services, folks? Okay. I just want to share a little bit about the evolution of our program. And we had to sort of, take some guesstimates at this because some of our paperwork is back at the office. But I think, we have a general idea just to let you know that the program first started as single parents and displaced homemakers, and it was funded with Perkins money. I know a lot of the DOE also got Perkins money. And back then we were also trying to support pregnant parenting teen programs on campus. So there was a lot of collaboration. Some of the old timers might know Dee Helber. But she and I would sort of, talk story and try to figure out how can we support both, the pregnant parenting teen programs as well as the community college student parents programs, which more colleges actually had. So it was a very collaborative way of working together rather than trying to compete for money. So we did try to provide a lot of, services under this Perkins grant. So that was, I think the funds first came in 78, and then 84 was when I think our campus created the program. I was hired in 86. So there was one other counselor before me who kind of, had started the program. And in about 2007, at this point, the Perkins money had sort of dried up. And we said, you know what, we were largely G funded at that point. My salary and our budget was pretty much G funded then. So we decided that we're going to focus really on on single parents, because our displaced homemakers population is not like the mainland where there was a lot of maybe stay-at-home moms who raised their kids and then maybe got divorced or husband got disabled and now had to become the breadwinner for the family. I think most of our parents have always sort of had to be working parents, or they were, economically, it wasn't the kind of situation where a lot of people could just stay home and raise kids here. So that wasn't like a really big part of our population. So we decided to focus more on single parents. And then when we were fortunate enough to get Brooke's position, it was with the idea that we were going to expand our service to all student parents on campus. And we're going to share with you a little bit more about who that looks like, because I think most of you probably know who single parents are, but we really wanted to understand a little bit more about who our student parents are. So we did conduct a needs assessment. This a couple years ago, and I'm sorry, is your screen cutting off a little bit there? I just want to make sure here that I'll try to read it if you can't see the whole screen. But it says that our needs assessment was done in 2017 to learn more about the needs of student parents at KCC, and the student parent program continues to serve the students with the most social and economic needs. So again, most of our student parents are still single parents and first generation in college. And another, demographic is that most are returning adult students between the ages of 25 and 45 is the largest age group. And many face significant barriers to education and have limited systems of support. And I think, Brooke, is this where you take over, or am I doing slide 8? Sorry, I'm trying to remember now here.
I can.
Okay.
Just roll.
Yeah.
All right, so next slide, Shell, please. So when we did our needs assessment this was in 2017, and our plan has been to try and do this survey every couple of years, just because we know with our populations and community colleges, it's a pretty fast turnover, most being with us for 2 years. So we know that the needs are probably going to be changing over that time. But what we learned in this first round of needs assessment is that this is sort of just a glimpse of who our average student parent is. As Kathy mentioned, most are returning adults, so their age tends to be in between that 25 and 35 age range. We do have some younger parents. We do have a couple of parents who were teen parents but are now trying to come back to school, and just getting them plugged into that extra support. Most of them, I think it's 87%, tend to be female, so mostly single mothers, and most of them are coming part-time. And I think that is a big thing that Kathy and I do in our advising, is that single parents, or especially if they're single parents, but all parents are juggling probably 3 full-time things, which one is them being a parent. Most of them are working full-time, and then they're adding in school. So we're looking at that particular plate and saying, okay, you do not have to be here for 12 credits a semester, because the study time and the things to be successful as a student, you know, if your plate's overflowing, it's going to be, something's going to have to give. And why not plan it in a way that is going to allow you to have some balance? And that's a big component of what our counseling is like, is looking at what work-life balance is and trying to plan that in intentionally into their schedule. Most of our students are first-generation college students, so brand new to college, the whole system. So we really try to get them plugged into all the on and off-campus supports that they will need, and the information and education they will need to get through their experience successfully. In this round of survey, a lot of our student parents are employed at least part-time, but we also had, I think about 36%, but there was also a big chunk that were working 40+ hours a week. It just happened to be the majority in this bracket happened to be in that 11 to 20 hours, because if they're, especially if like they're a Bridge to Hope or First to Work student, they're also going to school full-time. So that plate tends to balance out. If they're in school full-time, maybe they're working part-time. If they're working full-time, maybe they're going to school part-time. And income-wise, the majority tend to be in that zero. So like the low income, below poverty, 30,000 a year for a family of 3 or sometimes 4. And most people tended to have 1 to 2 children. And most of those kids are young. They're in that 2 to 5, like pre-elementary school age bracket. So childcare definitely being a big need there. Sheldon, you can advance the slide. So the biggest challenges, naturally, and we've already been speaking to this a bit, but this just was confirmed in our needs assessment. There was a whole list of things that we asked that could be potential challenges. One of the biggest things was time management, and that's the work-life balance. It's trying to make everything fit in 24 hours a day and still get sleep and eat, and just finding time for everything. Family and work commitments tended to be a big challenge for folks' academic success. If they're a single parent and childcare falls through, if their kid gets sick, they don't have anyone else to watch their child. And we don't have, there are no community agencies that have, I mean, I think right now during COVID, there's now emergency childcare for essential workers, but in a normal day, there's no like 24-hour drop-off care. And I think Kathy had informed me that there used to be something at Queens. Kathy, was that
Yes.
the one that? So
Yeah,
Queens Hospital used to have, but there's nothing like that exists anymore in our community. So when folks' kids get sick, there's no other options for them to be able to attend class. Work commitments. So if they have to work 40+ hours a week, or they're scheduled, you know, if they get called into work and they have class, you know, work's their survival. That's their bread and butter, and that's their priority that they have to make. Difficulty with childcare. So this is twofold. It's not just finding affordable, accessible childcare, but it's also paying for it. As Kathy mentioned, we tried to get them plugged in with childcare subsidies and just different resources for support. But childcare is a big expense, and so that's a huge piece for our student parents. And then inability to make up work due to work or family demands. So this is when if they miss an assignment or they miss a deadline, say if their kid got sick and they missed a test because they couldn't come that day, and the professor says, sorry, you weren't here. The instructors on our campus have discretion of whether or not they allow makeups. And even if our student parents get a doctor's note and it's a legit excused absence, it's not always taken if they have to miss a test day or whatnot. And there's some pretty strict policies that sometimes instructors have. So that's where Kathy and I also can come into play. I think this is especially like Kathy, she's been on our campus, she has a lot of relationships with folks, and so sometimes we're able to outreach and help advocate for those student parents. If we know that their child was sick and maybe they just need help talking to their professor, sometimes we can help with that. And then of course, financial challenges. Education's a big expense. We have great folks like Jennifer Bradley, who I see is on with us. Hi, Jennifer. Who are helping our student parents get as much financial aid as possible. But with the cost of living and all the expenses they have to support their family, finances are always a challenge for them. Go ahead, Shell. So all that to say that it's a tough balancing act. Our student parents are just balancing the world on their shoulders. So we ask this question of how would you currently rate your level of stress in your own life? And if you look at the blue and red sections, blue is a huge amount of stress, and that is the majority, 38.6%. And red is quite a bit of stress. Yellow's moderate stress, and green is little stress. There is a purple option that says no stress at all, but no one ever chose that option, so you don't see it on our pie chart. But just to say that our student parents are chronically stressed. Again, they just got so much on their plates. They're trying to get ahead in life. They're trying to get their education into their ultimate career path. But they've got all these other things that they're trying to balance on their shoulders. Next slide, Shell. But yet they persist. And in this section, we just want to acknowledge that our student parents are so absolutely resilient. There's a lot of us here who are working professionals who are parents, and we know what a tough balancing that is. That in and of itself is. I'm looking at you, Alfie, and you too, Sheldon. Our kids are burning macaroni and cheese in the microwave. I got my kid who learned how to open up the safety gate and grab the kitchen knife. So we know right now what a time it is just to try and balance our work and our home lives with this shelter in place. And our student parents are doing that and trying to go to school at the same time. So even with all the challenges, it's just it's an amazing journey to witness and see them get through. And sometimes it's doing the army crawl through the finish line, but when they do finish and they go on and they transfer to UH Manoa or they get into their medical career, it's just a beautiful, wonderful testimony to the resilience and grit that they endure to get through this journey. Go ahead, Shell. You can click one more time. So we know they bring a lot to the table. They're warriors in their own right. And then Kathy and I, we're the extra supports on our campus, as well as everybody else on our team. But specifically in our program, how we're supporting our students is really helping them navigate those resources and support systems. It's helping them identify people in their life, their family, their friends who are supporting their journey, but it's also finding those new connections on our campus, the counselors, the financial aid folks, and the folks at KISC, and our vice chancellor. And it's also the other student groups, the peer leaders, and all the other programs on our campus, and wrapping them into those supports networks. We're helping them set goals with wellness and work-life balance in mind. And Kathy and I walk that journey every day too. So It's something that we try to keep at the forefront when we're doing our counseling is, what are you doing to take care of yourself? What does that look like for you? What's something you can do for yourself every day that will help support you? We also have in our program, we have a few scholarships that we're able to award specifically for student parents every year. And so Kathy's been really awesome working with our foundation and just getting, we have great donors who are really just wonderful, wonderful people who are looking to support single parents specifically. And Kathy, if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and well, we have about, I think, four different donor scholarships that we try to coordinate with our program. But the other bigger, I guess, piece of this too is that we spend a lot of time trying to just provide scholarships in general to our students, that sort of for like heads of household, for, you know, lots of them are women, like we mentioned. So we try to scour the databases around and try to put it together so the students don't have to spend that much time doing it. So it's already in one place. And you know, the last point mentioned, like the targeted workshops based on needs, is a lot of it was to do with scholarship searching, how to do the UH system scholarship, which those of us who work on our campus is kind of a bear. Jennifer helped us set up a wonderful workshop for our, you know, our student parents this past semester. And so things like that, we know are, you know, are what our students really are asking for, is how to get financial help in any means that, you know, that they can reach. So
we've also reached out to different community partners. We know the chronic stress issue is a big one. So we've done workshops like wellness workshop, how to balance work and life, just different strategies you can employ to help keep your life organized and managing your time and keeping to a routine and a schedule, which right now is more important than ever. And doing things that are just good for your soul and good for your heart, and just, you know, being forgiving of yourself and knowing that this is a humble journey and we're all doing our best, and just, you know, trying to rest in that, you know, all we can do is our best.
I know our time is almost just about up here. I mean, well, it's probably up already, yeah, Shell. So we'll try to wrap this up really quickly here.
Yep, so this is a way students can get to us. They can call our office, they can walk in. Our info sessions are available on our website, and they can email us. Next slide, Shell. And right now, while we're all sheltering in place, Kathy and I are offering our services online through Zoom or by phone. And we are also hosting drop-in student-parent Zoom hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which you see there. And then, any questions? Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Any questions from the group? Any at all? All right. Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you so much. Truly, truly appreciate it.